Budget folding phones are a little tricky, right? Because to get to a price point we'd consider budget or even mid-range, you have to cut some corners. On a traditional slab device, not that big of an issue, right? You could cut down on build materials and build quality. You could use a less expensive glass on the cover of the display. You could use a plastic frame. You could use a plastic back. There are several different areas where you could cut corners that's not going to jeopardize the device as a whole. Not quite the case with folding devices, because if you start cutting corners on build quality, eventually things like the hinge are going to give way. The display is going to give way. There are only a couple areas where you could really trim the fat on a folding phone before you get to something that you're using a cheaper material on something mission critical so that the device depends on it in terms of durability. So, for folding phones, it makes more sense to look towards older devices to maybe get a cheaper price or something that we consider budget or mid-range. Now, that brings me to today's conversation because the Motorola Plus from last year, 2023, is now could be available. Link in the description does help the channel. $550. And I swear, a couple days ago when I was originally playing this video, that I saw it for new old stock, whatever they have left over, or I don't even know if they might still be making them, $450. So here's what I'm thinking. Either I'm losing it, which is entirely possible if you've watched the channel long enough, or that was the regular price that's now been jacked back up to $550, but when Black Friday rolls around, you're going to see these back down to $450 new. That's an incredible deal. The renewed ones, Amazon renewed, you can have for $350. And the only reason why I'd even bring that up, because usually folding phones, I wouldn't even bother with renewed. It's still not there. You know, there were a couple years ago, you could get phenomenal deals on the Galaxy Fold 2, Galaxy Fold 3, a lot of different nice phones that could be had for less that I wouldn't mess with because I still had questions about the durability. The Razr Plus from last year was the first folding phone that I might recommend, and I am recommending, for somebody to go ahead and buy renewed. Now, you still have to take full advantage of the protections that Amazon offers. 90-day return policy or whatever it happens to be. If you're less than thrilled with the cosmetics, if you think the thing was abused, if you got dents along the hinge of the frame, those are things that you're going to want to look out for. However, if it was used by a human being who values a $1,000 smartphone, then you're going to see that this device held up really well. This is the folding phone I've used the most, probably ever, of any folding device I've used. Every holiday, every family function, the Motorola Razr from last year was the phone that was in my pocket. I like it even more than this year's device. Just the material, the eco leather's better. I just like this red color a little bit better. There's a bunch of different things I like about this particular phone. But the hinge that I complained about last year, not really complained, but I just said, I got some questions about this thing. Feeling a little flimsy, right? It doesn't really... When you fold it for the first time, not exactly the most confidence-inspiring hinge from Motorola. However, we talked about this a few times. It doesn't necessarily mean the tightest of tolerances, engineering-wise, are not necessarily always the best, because that means a little bit of dust, a little bit of whatever, something gets a little bit out of alignment, then all of a sudden you have tight tolerances, the whole works get gummed up. When they're loose tolerances, you might have a rock in there and it still is able to open and close without any issue. That's an exaggeration, obviously. But the Motorola hinge on the Razr Plus from last year held up really well. No problems with this device. I rocked this device the entire year without a case. Not a scratch on it, just make sure it's not glaring. Not a ding on it. Just a really, really nice phone overall that I think you're going to enjoy. So if there were going to be a device, now you still have to use your head, like I said, get a good one. Plenty of different things to take into account there. But if there were going to be a device that I'd recommend secondhand that were a folding phone, the Razr Plus from last year would be that phone. So that's something. Now, price-wise, it's a really nice price. $450, I think, for a new one is phenomenal because you're still getting the Snapdragon 8 plus Gen 1, still getting 8 gigs of RAM, still got decent battery life, performance is great. The thing with this is, yes, we've complained before about Motorola's lack of software updates. And they haven't been terrible with the patches, the monthly patches on the Razr Plus, bi-monthly, I should say. Terrible with those. But you're going to wait a long time. Don't expect the Android 15 update in the same calendar year that Android 15 is released. So let's say it's this year. Let's give them this year. Okay, let's give them a pass. Don't expect the Android 15 release in the first half of 2025. Let's put it that way. You might get it. I do believe it, it's promised on this device, so I do believe you're going to get it. But it's just going to take a little while before Motorola gives it to you. I'm less concerned about that now because we did get, as you can see here, even though it's activated, at least it's clear, we did get the always-on display for the Razr Plus from last year. So we did get the Android, there you go. We did get the Android 14 update. We did get Hello UI. So at least the company brought it up to date to the current features that the Razr Plus from this year gets, which makes me happy. The other thing is that why you consider this device is the competition, even on the Motorola Razr side, would probably be the less expensive Razr, which is basically, essentially, if you look at it, kind of just a rebadged version of this guy. And I think you get a little bit more here. I know some people will argue that the hinge is better on the new one, and that's true. But I really like the build quality here. I really like the eco leather design. I really just love the external display. It's about similar. I believe it matches the external display on the less expensive Razr this year. But I do think you get a lot by picking one of these up for cheap. So look out for those Black Friday sales. Definitely think that's what's happened here because I could have swore I saw this for cheaper just a couple days ago. So definitely look out for that. That's something that you're going to want to pick up. If you're looking at these folding phones, I love the Galaxy Flip series for a different reason. If hand on heart you had to tell me, hey, what's the folding phone that's going to be in your pocket, or the flip phone, the more compact one that's going to be in your pocket over the course of a year, if I had to choose one, it would be the Motorola Razr. Sleek design, looks like a folding phone that was designed this decade. Just a really, really nice, high quality. The internal display is just absolutely just gorgeous. Gorgeous display. Saturated, nice, poppy, excellent colors, phenomenal for content. I love the fact that it's a slightly wider display. So the Galaxy devices, the Flip devices, are kind of going for a smaller footprint. So when you put them, when they're more compact, and that's fine, and there's a market for that. I'm sure people liked with the Z Fold devices that we talked about. There's a market for people who want a more compact device. But if you're just looking for a stylish flip phone, if you love the old, I mean, I wouldn't say if you love the old Razr, since the nostalgia part of that is pretty much gone design-wise. But if you love the idea of the old Razr, right, the feel of the old Razr, kind of the sleek design, stylish, you're picking one of these up as a statement, conversation piece, you just love the fact that you can get a full smartphone experience, but then close it down into something compact that you can fit in your pocket, more bag, more easily. This is something that you're going to want to pick up, and I think $450 is a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal price point on one of my favorite phones of last year that I am comfortable saying, you know what, other folding phones, jury's still out. Wait and see on the durability for those. The Motorola Razr Plus, I can say from experience, this thing didn't have a case on it. It was in pockets. It was at events. This thing got used a lot last year, and it's perfectly fine. So if you're going to get one renewed as well, that's something that you could think about. Take into account, like I said, eyes open, right? Use your head. If it comes in, it looks bashed up and beaten up, chances are something's gotten in that hinge. Chances are the gears or whatever might be knocked out of alignment. Send it back. Looks at, battery's bad, all those things. All the things that you normally do with Amazon Renewed, do here with this one. But if you could get a good one, $350 renewed is a ridiculous price. $450 on a Black Friday sale, if it drops it down on a new old stock, I guess you could call it at this point, is just a really, really nice deal on a really nice phone and a way to get a folding phone that's not going to break the bank. You're not paying $1,000, $1,200, $1,100 for these folding phones, even these flippable folding phones, $450. Can't beat that. If you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.